Imagine holding a stone that basically acts as a permanent hard drive for your darkest, heaviest memories.
Right.
But at the exact same time, it's supposed to be the precise tool you use to heal from those memories.
It's quite the paradox.
It really is. It forces you to ask, does true healing actually mean erasing your past? Or is it just about changing how the energy of that past flows through your life?
Exactly.
So welcome to today's deep dive. If you're joining us, you're likely someone who doesn't just want a superficial summary of a topic.
You want the mechanics.
Right. You want to understand the mechanics beneath the surface. And today, our mission is to unpack a really comprehensive source text all about the metaphysical healing properties of banded calcite.
And, the source material we're analyzing today, it doesn't just treat this crystal as a passive object. It's not just a pretty rock to sit on your desk.
No, definitely not.
It positions banded calcite as this dynamic mechanism for human growth. I mean, the text actually goes so far as to call it a multivitamin for the soul.
A multivitamin for the soul. I love that specific phrase.
Right. It sets a very specific expectation. We are looking at a system that claims to address the mind, the body, and the spirit, but not through some sudden miraculous fix.
It's much more structured than that.
Exactly. It describes a highly structured, layered process.
And the text leans heavily into the physical structure of the stone itself to explain how this works. I mean, if you've seen banded calcite, it's known for these distinct, very visible layers of color.
Yes, the banding.
Yeah, the banding. And the source uses those physical bands as a literal and energetic blueprint for how human healing actually happens.
It's a great metaphor.
It argues that growth isn't a straight line, It's a gradual, step-by-step layering process. And the foundation of that entire process begins with one core property, which is energy amplification.
Yeah. We have to start there. The source identifies banded calcite primarily as a massive energy amplifier.
Before it even touches on emotional stuff.
Right. Before it addresses emotional trauma or physical vitality, it establishes this baseline energetic mechanic. The claim is that the stone magnifies the energy of its immediate surroundings.
Okay.
And the personal intentions of the person holding it. Plus, it even amplifies the frequencies of other crystals nearby, like clear quartz.
When reading through that section, the immediate modern equivalent that came to my mind was a Wi-Fi extender.
Ooh, a Wi-Fi extender. That's a really good way to look at it.
Because if you think about how a Wi-Fi extender operates, it doesn't magically generate an internet connection out of thin air.
Right, you have to have a router first.
Exactly. It takes the existing signal you already have, in this case, your baseline energy or your intentions, and it just boosts that specific signal so it can reach the dark, dead corners of your house.
Or mapping it to this text, the dead zones in your energetic field.
Yes, exactly.
And the text details the how of that amplification by pointing directly back to the crystal's physical structure. The unique banding within the calcite acts as what the source calls conduits for energy flow.
Conduits, so it's directing the flow.
This is a crucial distinction. It's not just blasting raw energy randomly in all directions. The layers allow the vibrations to be distributed evenly and methodically.
So the structure of the stone basically prevents an energetic overload.
Exactly.
It takes a chaotic energy signal and organizes it into a steady current.
And by distributing that energy evenly, the text states it actively absorbs stagnant, negative energy and transforms it into positive vibrations.
It recycles it, essentially.
Yeah, and this organized flow is what clears out energetic blockages. When those blockages are removed, energy can finally move freely to recharge the body's chakras.
Okay, so the ultimate goal of this first stage is simply creating a harmonious, balanced, energetic field.
Right, it's the preparatory work required before any deeper, more specific healing can begin.
Which makes a lot of sense, because once the static is cleared from the room, you are finally able to hear the specific signals you've been avoiding.
And often, what we are avoiding is heavy.
Very heavy, which brings us directly into the source's claims regarding emotional healing.
This is a huge part of the text.
Right, but I had a thought here. If you have a stone that acts as a powerful amplifier, what happens when the energy you are currently holding onto is grief or deep-seated trauma?
That's the logical question to ask.
Because the text spends a significant amount of time on banded calcite's ability to help individuals release emotional wounds.
It does. And it specifically highlights pink banded calcite for this phase of the process.
The pink variation.
Yes. It notes its efficacy in healing heartbreak, processing grief, and fostering a deep sense of self-compassion. The text argues that the layered nature of the stone mirrors the multifaceted complexity of human emotions.
But there's a real logical friction point here in the text's own mechanics.
You mean the amplification part?
Exactly. If the foundational property of this stone is massive amplification, holding it while you are in the depths of profound sadness seems, well, risky.
It sounds like a bad idea.
Right. The natural question is whether you are in danger of accidentally amplifying your grief, like essentially making the sadness louder and more overwhelming instead of curing it.
Well, the text actually anticipates that risk by defining the specific frequency of the crystal's energy.
Oh, really? How so?
It emphasizes that banded calcite possesses an inherently nurturing energy, and it is intrinsically linked to the heart chakra.
Okay, the heart chakra connection is key.
Yes. Because of this connection, the stone doesn't just operate as a blind megaphone for whatever emotion is present. The mechanism is transformative.
So it filters the amplification through the specific lens of the heart chakra.
According to the source, yes. It actively absorbs the negative, heavy emotions and replaces them with frequencies of love and light.
That's fascinating.
So the amplification is directed towards self, love, forgiveness, and emotional resilience. And this is where the layered structure becomes really vital.
Because it paces the process.
Exactly. It forces the emotional processing to happen at a safe, sustainable pace.
It's comparable to the actual geological sedimentation of the stone itself. I mean, if you look at how those physical bands are formed in nature, it is through immense pressure over long periods of time.
Creating distinct, visible bands of history.
Right. And human trauma works the exact same way. We layer our survival mechanisms, our grief, and our memories over time.
Layer upon layer.
So the text implies that you cannot just shatter all those layers at once without collapsing the whole structure.
And the crystal's energy flow respects that sedimentation. By moving through the emotional blockages layer by layer, it helps the user avoid the phenomenon often referred to as a healing crisis.
Oh, a healing crisis. That's when you release too much trauma at once.
Right. And it completely overwhelms the nervous system. The stone supports emotional stability, providing the clarity needed to navigate challenges from a place of calm rather than reactive panic.
Which is huge.
This gradual unearthing really fosters the self-acceptance that the text deems absolutely essential for building healthier relationships moving forward.
Well, if you consider the sheer amount of daily energy it takes for a person to suppress decades of layered trauma.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exhausting.
It takes a massive toll on the body.
So the logical next question is, what happens when you stop suppressing it? Once you've cleared out the energetic static and systematically processed the heavy emotional baggage, you suddenly have this massive surplus of vitality.
You have all this freed up energy.
Right. And the text points out exactly where that newly freed up energy goes, transitioning from emotional survival to real-world action and prosperity.
This is where the source really bridges the internal world with external results. The section on mental vitality claims that banded calcite actively combats physical fatigue, lethargy, and procrastination.
It's like an espresso shot for your energy field.
Yeah, it details improvements in mental acuity and memory retention too.
The most striking part of this section for me is how specific the text gets regarding who benefits from this surplus energy.
The business owners.
Yes. It explicitly calls banded calcite the perfect stone for entrepreneurs and self-employed individuals.
It's a very specific demographic to call out.
It really is. Like, if you've ever found yourself procrastinating on a major project or second-guessing a career move, the text frames that not as a time management issue, but as an energetic blockage.
That's a big perspective shift.
It claims the crystal helps business owners gain confidence, endurance, and longevity in their ventures, like having a life coach sitting on your desk.
The logic here relies on the explicit link the source draws between emotional balance and financial prosperity.
Right, because they are connected.
The hurdles that hold an entrepreneur back are rarely just a lack of logistical business knowledge. The roadblocks are internal.
The fear of failure.
Exactly. The fear of failure, chronic self-doubt, and these deeply ingrained limiting beliefs about money and worth.
Which are exactly the heavy, stagnant energies the crystal just finished clearing out in the previous step.
You see how it builds? When those mental and spiritual blockages are removed, the text states that the individual is put into a high vibrational state. And within the framework of this source material, a high vibrational, emotionally clear state naturally aligns with the flow of abundance.
So it's drawing success to you.
The crystal essentially teaches the appropriate use of personal power. It directs all that raw, untethered energy into a focused, positive force, providing the steadfastness required to carry difficult, long-term tasks to completion.
The text also highlights orange calcite in this context, noting its specific ability to ignite the fires of creativity and unleash sexual desire.
Which makes complete sense within the chakra system.
Right, because the sacral chakra governs both raw creativity and sexuality. When you clear the fear of failure, that dormant creation energy is suddenly highly active.
It has to go somewhere.
Exactly, whether that channels into building a new business or reigniting physical passion.
And the source grounds all of this mental and entrepreneurial vitality by bringing it back to the physical body. It doesn't just talk about endurance in the boardroom.
It gets very physical.
It lists highly specific physical benefits: strengthening the eyes and optic nerves, fortifying teeth, bones, and bone marrow.
Bone marrow, wow.
It also notes its efficacy in helping individuals recover from long, draining illnesses.
The inclusion of the skeletal system, teeth, bones, bone marrow is fascinating to me because calcite itself is fundamentally calcium carbonate.
Wow, that's a great connection.
Yeah, the text draws a direct parallel between the physical structural makeup of the stone and its energetic ability to support the structural foundation of the human body.
It represents a holistic loop. Physical exhaustion drains emotional resilience.
Which in turn blocks entrepreneurial drive and creativity.
Exactly. By stimulating the body's physical structural healing, it reawakens the foundation necessary to support the high energy demands of the mind and spirit. You cannot build a lasting business or a creative life on a crumbling physical foundation.
A strong physical and mental foundation is exactly what allows a person to reach higher without losing their footing.
And the source material eventually reaches much, much higher.
Oh yeah, it does. After covering the heart, the physical body, and the wallet, the text pushes past everyday success and moves deeply into the mystical and esoteric realms of higher consciousness.
The transition moves from the root and sacral chakras, which deal with groundedness and physical creation, all the way up to the third eye and crown chakras.
Right.
The text asserts that banded calcite stimulates the third eye, enhancing specific psychic abilities.
It drops quite a bit of esoteric terminology here. It mentions the enhancement of telepathy, clairvoyance, and scrying.
Scrying, for those who might not know, is the practice of gazing into a reflective surface or crystal to receive intuitive messages or visions.
Thank you, yeah. It also claims the stone helps the user tap into the Akashic records, which, in metaphysical traditions, is essentially the energetic, cosmic database of all universal history and knowledge.
It's a massive concept.
And obtaining direct messages from the angelic realm.
So we are looking at a massive expansion of the crystal's scope here. It is no longer just organizing the energy in your living room.
Right.
It is acting as an antenna for cosmic information.
But as the text lists out the astrological and elemental associations to support these mystical claims, there is a glaring, almost jarring contradiction.
Ah, yes, the two lists.
The source provides two entirely distinct, heavily contrasting sets of associations for this single stone. First, it ties the stone firmly to the element of ore.
Okay.
It lists the astrological signs of Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. It associates it with the planet Venus, the moon, Archangel Raphael, and elemental spirits like sylphs and the fairies of the wind.
All of which represent highly intellectual, upward-moving, flighty energy.
Very airy.
The realm of ideas, communication, and ethereal connection.
Right. But then the very next list in the text ties the stone completely to Earth.
A total 180.
Literally. It lists Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. It associates it with the goddess Gaia, Archangel Sandalphon, the Earth Star Chakra, and dense, grounded elemental spirits like gnomes, dwarfs, and trolls.
Trolls.
Yeah. So you have a stone that is simultaneously representing the airy, ungrounded energy of the wind and the dense, heavy, immovable energy of deep Earth.
It seems impossible.
On a structural level, the text seems to be pulling the reader in two opposing directions. How do you reconcile that?
Well, it reads like a conflict until you examine the actual mechanics of the crystal's ultimate purpose. The text provides a specific mechanism that resolves this dichotomy.
Okay, what is it?
It states that banded calcite balances the yin and yang energies in the body and actively integrates the spiritual realm with the physical body.
Ah, so it functions as an energetic bridge between those two extremes.
Exactly. And to be a functional bridge, you must be deeply anchored on both opposing shores.
That makes perfect sense.
If you only operate with the air energy, the fairies, the third eye stimulation, the telepathy, the visionary traits of an Aquarius, you have a profound connection to higher wisdom and a million brilliant ideas.
But you lack the density to execute any of them in the physical world.
Right. The text specifically notes that banded calcite anchors one's flighty energy into a more stable way of life.
So it utilizes the earth energy, the torus stability, the grounding force of Gaia to pull those airy cosmic ideas down into the physical realm so you can actually manifest them.
Yes.
So going back, the entrepreneur we talked about earlier receives the innovative idea through the air element, but uses the earth element to actually build the company brick by brick.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
And the reverse is equally true. If you only operate with earth energy, you become rigid, stuck in the mundane, and cut off from inspiration.
You just get heavy.
Exactly. The text explicitly states, the crystal helps the user gain the ability to channel energy upward from earth to source. It pulls the heavy, stagnant density up to be enlightened, and pulls the light, flighty energy down to be materialized. The two opposing forces meet and integrate in the middle, utilizing the layered bands of the stone to facilitate that massive energetic exchange safely.
It isn't a contradiction in the text at all, then. It is the description of a complete closed circuit system.
It is the ultimate synthesis of everything we have discussed today. The energy amplification, the emotional processing, the physical vitality, and the spiritual integration all rely on this bridge between earth and air.
Let's take a moment to look at the complete picture the source has painted for us today. We started by examining banded calcite as an energetic conduit, organizing and amplifying your baseline intentions to clear the static from your environment.
The Wi-Fi extender.
Right, the Wi-Fi extender. Then we explored how its physical sedimentation mirrors the safe, layer-by-layer processing of deep emotional trauma.
Transforming grief through the heart chakra without overwhelming your nervous system.
Then we saw how that freed up energy translates into physical vitality and the entrepreneurial drive needed to overcome limiting beliefs.
The espresso shot.
Exactly. And finally, we unpacked its role as a mystical bridge, perfectly balancing the opposing forces of earth and air to anchor high spiritual concepts into grounded, physical reality.
The text constructs a very thorough argument for why it earns the title of a multivitamin for the soul. It systematically addresses the deficits in the user's energetic structure, providing grounding where there is too much flight and elevation where there is too much density.
It is an incredibly comprehensive system of healing. But as we reach the end of the source material, there is a detail hidden in the text that complicates this clean narrative of letting go and moving forward.
Yeah, this part really stood out. Throughout this entire analysis, the recurring theme has been release.
Right.
Clearing stagnant energy, releasing old traumas, and leaving the past behind in order to step into a state of prosperity and higher consciousness. The crystal is framed as the ultimate tool for moving on.
Yet the text includes a specific section detailing the crystal's use in a practice called psychometry.
Which changes things.
It really does. For those unfamiliar, psychometry is the psychic ability to read the history, memories, or residual energy of an object simply by touching it.
And the source material states that banded calcite is a secretive stone, highly valued in psychometry for a very specific reason.
Because it remembers.
Yes. The text explicitly claims that the crystal holds on to the memories of things that have happened to the wearer. It actively records and retains the story of the person who holds it.
Which introduces a profound paradox. The very tool the text prescribes to help you release your past trauma and forget your pain is simultaneously acting as a permanent physical hard drive that records every single memory of what happened to you.
It forces us to question the fundamental nature of the healing process the text has outlined. How does a crystal facilitate the letting go of trauma while actively holding on to the memory of it?
It suggests that true healing, at least according to the mechanics of this stone, has absolutely nothing to do with erasing the memory.
Not at all.
The goal isn't to forget the trauma or pretend the lower layers of your sedimentation don't exist. The goal is to change how the energy of that memory flows through your current layers.
The memory remains perfectly intact in the stone.
Right, but it no longer carries the heavy, stagnant charge that blocks your vitality.
It is a powerful reframe of the straight line of growth we often expect. Healing isn't the absence of the past. It is the integration of it.
A completely different way to look at the landscape of your own growth. So to you, our listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the contradictions, keep examining the layers of your own history, and we will see you next time.